It's fair to say the first Raw after WrestleMania didn't stand and deliver, but did the first NXT deliver tonight? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome back, guys, to Fog Wrestling here to review WWE NXT from the 4th of April. 2023. So there's been a lot of people bashing WWE, bashing Vince McMahon, bashing Monday Night Raw over the last 24 hours. And I feel like I've seen a lot of the same people recently, just in the last like half an hour or so, putting over this NXT, saying how good it was and saying how it was better than Raw. And look, while I enjoy watching NXT, while I think there's some things they certainly do better than the main roster, there's just such certain things on the main roster that NXT can't compete with. I mean, Monday Night Raw, you've got Brock Lesnar destroying Cody Rhodes, and I mean, it doesn't matter if the rest of Raw shit. Something as good as that, Brock Lesnar coming out and just destroying Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar being Brock, or like the return of a John Cena, or something, along those lines, like when Undertaker used to return or whatever. NXT doesn't have that. NXT does not have that, so it's good and it is promising. I think some of the young people are on NXT. You're looking at them thinking, wow, they can be future main eventers, they can be future legends. The point is, they don't have any current legends. So as bad as Raw was, I still think Raw was better because we had the Brock Lesnar segments with Cody Rhodes and the Bloodline. But here, overall, yeah, this NXT show was probably better, but like I said, this NXT show, it cannot deliver a Brock Lesnar. So anyway, what we do kick off though with is Booker T and Vic Joseph at ringside. They welcome us to the show, and we get introduced to the new NXT Women's Champion, Indy Hartwell. She comes out, the fans are chanting, "You deserve it." The fans are chanting indie wrestling, and I mean, this is enough to get me to want to turn off the TV. Nothing against Indy Hartwell, but an indie wrestling chant is literally the last thing I want to hear when I'm watching wrestling. She speaks about how she'd given up on winning the title, but she'd gained some momentum, and the fans never gave up on her, so that's why she is the champ. Then she put over Roxanne Perez. She gave a shout out to Perez, who wasn't on tonight's show, and she says that she wanted to give Perez the first title opportunity. Out comes Zoe Starks, and I mean, this isn't a good start to the show, let's be honest. Zoe Starks says that Indy isn't on the level of former champions. Indy says that Zoe Stark says Indy's a very beatable champion and that Perez should go to the back of the line, or Perez can go to the front of the line if she wants, as long as she's not in front of Zoe Stark. So Zoe Starks proposes a title match for tonight. The crowd are chanting no, but Indy Hartwell says, "Sure, let's do it." Stark says, "You've made the biggest mistake of your life and you will have the shortest title reign ever." And they both face off. So, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't say it's the best way to kick off NXT. I mean, surely coming out of the major pay-per-view, a promo between Indy Hartwell and Zoe Starks, they could have done something better than this. Then we got Shannon Stacks, Lorenzo, and Tony D'Angelo taking on Pretty Deadly. I mean, it was a decent match. Tony D gets hot tag late in after Stacks got beat up for most of it. Tony D comes in, he clears house, he's beating up Pretty Deadly, he's hitting Pretty Deadly with all these deadly maneuvers, all this big man offense. But then Pretty Deadly, they switch like a Bella Twins, they do like a switcheroo, so the legal man kind of confuses Tony D, and then he gets slammed headfirst into an exposed turnbuckle, and Pretty Deadly get the win. Look, I like Pretty Deadly. For a tag team that is so camp, for a tag team that spells out and shouts out gay, they're actually not too bad. But, I mean, come on, Tony D's the man. I don't know why this guy... It's bad enough seeing Stacks. It's bad enough seeing Stacks lose us every week, but now we've got Tony D losing to Pretty Deadly. I mean, come on. That is pretty gay, in my opinion. So, yeah, Tony D... I don't agree with him losing. I think Tony D is one of the best things on NXT. The guy deserves to be a champion, whether that be North American, World, or even if he holds the tag team belts with Stacks. He shouldn't be jobbing it, in my opinion, to Pretty Deadly. He could make these guys swim with the fishes if he truly wanted to. Hopefully he does. Speaking of stars, D-Jack takes on Odyssey Jones and pretty much beats him convincingly. But there was at one spell in the match where Jones is on the top rope sitting and D-Jack lifts him off the top rope and hits a Death Valley driver. And then D-Jack can't get the two. He only gets a 2.5 count. So then he jumps up and hits a moonsault and gets the 1, 2, 3. Now, first of all, for a big man, does he really need to go to the top rope? Shouldn't this Death Valley driver on a big guy the size of Odyssey Jones, shouldn't that be enough to put Odyssey Jones away? Shouldn't that be the finish to the match? This Death Valley driver, the fact that D-Jack has lifted this big 450-pounder up on his shoulders and dropped them with a Death Valley driver, shouldn't that be the finish? That to me looks more impressive than the moonsault. Now, it is impressive that D-Jack, a guy of that size, can hit a moonsault, but let's be real, the Death Valley driver looked better. I just don't get it. You know, sometimes less is more. The Death Valley driver should have put him away. And another thing I noticed is, it looked like D-Jack was struggling to perform the Death Valley driver, and he already had an assist. He lifted Odyssey Jones up from the top rope, so it's not like he had to lift him into the air. So when you see people struggling like this, it kind of does make you get more respect for John Cena, because we've seen how easily John Cena would like lift people, even like Mark Henry, Khali, Big Show. Cena would lift them up pretty easily and hit the FU. We even seen it Mania where he hit both Big Show and Edge. So yeah, like I think sometimes we just assume back in the day it's a fireman's carry and that, you know, it's probably the easiest way to lift someone, but tonight, I mean, D-Jack looked like he was struggling, and he didn't even have to lift him. All he had to do was hold him from the top rope. Anyway, that's just something that I took from the match. D-Jack wins. Again, D-Jack, one of the better things on NXT. This guy should have some title gold around his waist. We see Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes arrive to the arena in style. They're arriving in a car. The car looks like it's worth more than what's in my bank account, but again, that wouldn't be very hard. So, yeah, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams, they're the champions, and they look like champs. You know, these two, is it like a Shawn Michaels and Diesel of this current era? We don't know. We'll find out more. But these two definitely look like they are stars. You know, they carry themselves as stars. They look like they're stars. They look like they're important. They're not just two guys that, you know, slap on a pair of trunks and go out and wrestle and do wrestling holds. No, Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams fucking look like guys that, you know, win fights. They look like guys that have money. They look like guys that go to the clubs and pick up chicks. That's what these two guys look like. So they're definitely standouts on this show. Then we get NXT champions Gallus backstage with Mackenzie Mitchell. Joe Coffrey's returned. Nobody really cares, but Joe Coffrey's returned anyway. And they say, imagine what a complete Gallus can do. Personally, I don't really care. Joe Coffrey says he plans on putting some gold around his waist, just like his, his brother and the other guy have. But until he does that, he's going to have a few fights. So, and he says everyone will realise this is Gallus's kingdom. I don't know. Aren't Gallus supposed to be like Scottish? Like they kind of strike me as like, you know, left wing liberals. So shouldn't they really? Why are they talking about kingdoms as if like shouldn't they be like independence? Like every time, and I know they don't mean kingdom as in United Kingdom. I know they mean a kingdom as in like a kingdom. You know, like a controlling kingdom or whatever. But I don't know. It just seems weird to me that they're kind of putting it over as a kingdom. Like, but whatever. I guess if you're British or Scottish or whatever, you'll know. Up next, we get Dragon Lee versus Nathan Fraser. You know what? I actually like Nathan Fraser. I think he's got a decent theme song. Anytime he cuts promos, like I'm not saying he's a good promo guy, but he's got like a unique voice. I don't know. There's just something about the guy. He always looks like stoned or something. So I'm not saying he's great, but I think he is a bit unique. You know, I mean, he does a lot of things in the ring that other guys can do, but I would say there's definitely a difference between Nathan Fraser and all these other flip-flopping flyers. I kind of, Nathan Fraser has always grown on me since day one, but I don't know, for some reason, he started off pretty hot. You know, he was winning matches, but I can't remember the last time he won a match, to be fair. He seems to be on the losing streak constantly now. So, yeah, Nathan Fraser loses to the debutant Dragon Lee. Dragon Lee at one point hit like a double stomp off the top rope, and it looked like he came landing down on Nathan Fraser's head, almost like crushed his head. So hopefully Nathan Fraser's alright, but in the end Dragon Lee wins with like a super kick. The crowd loved it. I mean, it was alright. I mean, I don't really care for this two smaller guys, you know. That's not why I watch wrestling. I'm in it for the characters, I'm in it for the big matches, you know, the hard-hitting guys, the believable guys. People hitting bunch of super kicks and moonsaults and, you know, flips. It doesn't really do it for me, you know. I mean, I'd rather just prefer to see two fucking men that look like grown men brawl, and that's always been the money maker. You look at Austin. Austin wasn't doing super kicks and moonsaults, but, you know, he's a machine. You know, he's the best thing to ever grace wrestling. So, I mean, this style for me, every time I see this, I just think of like Ring of Honor or Indie or AEW. I mean, the match wasn't bad, but I mean, again, like I say, it's just not my cup of tea. We see Noam Dar makes his return, by the way. So Noam Dar comes out with a trophy that means absolutely nothing. Apparently, it's a UK trophy. He won it in NXT UK. Problem is, NXT UK is a jobber promotion. It doesn't mean shit. So you can bring anything. You can bring a trophy. You can bring a title. I mean, you can bring £10 billion worth of gold from NXT UK. In NXT in America, that translates into about 2 cents because it's a fucking worthless promotion. So Noam Dar, I guess, is back in America after some failed stint in the UK. They then get Chase U backstage. Andrew Chase says it felt good to beat the Schism on Saturday. He praises the interim Chase U member Tyler Bate for helping save Chase U. But Duke Hudson doesn't like this. He speaks up. He's like, I don't think Bate did that much. I was the one that, won the match. I was the one that saved Chase University. I should be the one getting an award. But then Andrew Chase is like, well, a couple weeks ago you said awards weren't good and you kind of belittled these awards. And then Duke's like, oh, but that was different. That was different. And then Andrew Chase says that next week they're going to, award Duke with they're going to give him a legacy and create him an honour or something like that. MVP trophy, that's it. MVP trophy. So Duke Hudson is the MVP of Chase University. He's the only guy that's got a name in Chase University, so I suppose he has to be the MVP. We see Indy Hartwell and Zoe Starks walking. We come back for the break and we get the match. So yep, this is it. Stand and deliver. New champion Indy Hartwell versus Zoe Starks. First match, first title defense. Zoe Starks hits her big finisher, but the momentum sends Indy Hartwell outside the ring. Indy gets rolled back in the ring. Zoe Starks goes for like a cocky pin, no hook in the leg or nothing, and Indy Hartwell quickly rolls her up. 1, 2, 3, backslide, boom. Still your NXT champion. So Indy Hartwell retains. Then what we got next proves why NXT has the best women's roster in wrestling. So Tiffany Stratton comes out onto the ramp dressed in this like really, really hot pink outfit. She's looking at Indy Hartwell. Her boobs are almost popping out of her outfit. Indy Hartwell's too focused on Tiffany Stratton, and can you blame her? My eyes were definitely focused on Tiffany Stratton. But then Cora Jade, who's equally as hot, comes out, attacks Indy Hartwell from behind, beats her down, hits her finisher, grabs the belt, goes crazy, screams at the crowd, then goes up, meets Tiffany Stratton. She also takes a look at Tiffany Stratton. Again, you can't really blame her. And then they have a face-to-face, and we get teased that we're going to have a Tiffany Stratton, Cora Jade matchup. I tell you what, I would love a matchup with both of them at the same time. Book it, guys. Triple threat match. But not in the ring, in the bedroom, as Ric Flair would say. Great segment here, and again, proving why NXT has the best women on television. Just super hot compared to what you get on the SmackDown and Raw roster, man. You get all those ugly fucking old women with the stupid makeup and the bloody plastic surgery. It's like the big masculine butch women like Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Raquel Rodriguez, Charlotte Flair. I mean, screw that. No, this is where it's at right here, guys, on NXT. Then we've got Kiana James. She was backstage with Brooks Jensen. She was yelling at him for not helping her cheat at Stand and Deliver. Fallon Henley comes in and says it's kind of ironic. She's, shouting at Brooks for not helping her cheat when she's cheating on him. And then they get into an argument. Fallon Henley says that, yeah, she was seeing other guys, but it's because they weren't exclusive. She says after they had their first kiss, she knew he was the one for her, and she hasn't been seeing anyone since then, and she thought they had something special, but after Stand and Deliver, she realised that's not true. She storms off, and then Jensen yells at the other two and asks them to stop interfering in his relationship. So we'll see where this goes, guys. Apparently next week, Kiana James and Fallon Henley are getting a rematch for the titles, so I think that's going to end in disaster, but we'll just have to wait and see. Up next, it was Ivy Nile versus Tatum Paxley. Just a basic. So this annoyed me. I don't know what happened, But they showed a graphic of WWE Hall of Famer Butch, who passed away. So rest in peace, Butch. And then some guy came out and he was like, I don't know, he was criticizing Ivy Nile. He was mocking Ivy Nile, saying that she's short, which she is. Says that he wants to speak to her, but he couldn't get her permission from her guardians, the Creed brothers. And then she like locks him in a submission. And again, it's like it's women beating up. It's very feminine, you know. It's just we live in this like WWE universe where it's like women can like just beat up men with ease, and men are pathetic, and men are so fragile, and men can't defend themselves against women. But you know, God forbid, a man can't even look at a woman in WWE without him being labelled a monster or, you know, a bad... Can you imagine if a random man just came out and assaulted a woman on WWE programming? Can you imagine the heat the guy would get? But when women do it, it's fair game. You know, we even seen it Stand and Deliver with Candice LeRae hopping the barricade and you know, attacking what's his name, Grayson Waller with the Singapore cane. I mean, could you imagine... I don't know, I'm trying to think of people who are dating. I mean, let's say, could you imagine if Scarlett Bordeaux was wrestling Liv Morgan and Karrion Kross jumped the barricade and started hitting Liv Morgan with a Singapore cane? I mean, the commentary, they wouldn't be selling it the same way they do as when the women hit it. Of course they wouldn't, you know, it's lame. I mean, you need to, I just don't like it, man. It pisses me off, I'm sick of it. What do we get next? Yeah, so Ivy Nile beats Tatum Paxson easily, chokes her out with a reverse, like, I don't know, like the move Undertaker used to use. Fuck, I don't care, really. Who gives? Then we get Isla Dragunov backstage with Mackenzie Mitchell. He praises NXT North American Champion Wes Lee. He talks about how tough the Fatal 5-Way was at Stand and Deliver and how he hunts monsters, but he gets interrupted by Fawn Fagner. Fagner says I'm the biggest monster you've ever seen, and they agree to have a match next week. Stone says he will get Fawn the match, but if Fawn loses, he and Fawn are done. So it looks like Stone is sick of being on the losing side, and he probably expects Fawn to lose next week. So I expect Fawn to lose next week as well. Don't worry about it. Then we come back to the ring, and out comes the Axiom first, and then comes out Wes Lee. We're getting ready for our second title match of the night. It's going to be Axiom versus Wes Lee for the NXT North American title. And yeah, they get in the ring, they have their match, have a quick... It wasn't that long, to be honest, back and forth, hitting big moves. They talked about how Axiom has Wes Lee's number on individual one-on-one matches, but he didn't have his number tonight. Lee hits him with the cardiac kick and gets the pin. 1, 2, 3, and then after the match, Wwe and Axiom have like an embrace, and then Scripps comes out and tries to attack Axiom, but Axiom super kicks Scripps while he's trying to get into the ring. Bit of a failure here for Scripps, and then that was it really. Axiom says he's going to expose Scripps next week, so I guess we'll see what happened. The fans were chanting for Axiom. I didn't really care. We get Mackenzie Mitchell backstage with Nathan Fraser. He admits his year has not started off too good, but he can turn things around. Mackenzie says he seems wise beyond his years, with a positive attitude like that. Fraser says perspective and reality changes when one has a moment of enlightenment. So, I don't know. Wise words here from a young man. I guess we'll see what Nathan Fraser's career has in store for him later on. Then we got a quick promo for 3 superstars coming soon to NXT. Danny Palmer, Oba Femi, and Tank Ledger. Honestly, don't really think much of any of these 3. I think it's a bad thing bringing people to NXT. And I know you can argue that they're going to be having the call-up soon. I know you can say, yeah, you know, you're going to be getting they're going to be getting the, you know, the call-ups to Raw and SmackDown. But let's be honest, not that many people are going to be called up. It's not like they're going to call up. Let's be honest, in the current NXT roster, I'll be shocked if more than 5 people get called up to Raw and SmackDown over the next couple of weeks. So my point is like, the roster's already too big as it is. You know, the roster's too bloated. There's far too many people on the NXT roster already. Why call up more? You know, in my opinion, if people go to Raw or SmackDown, then that's fair enough. But they shouldn't call up any more because, like I said, the roster's already too big. They don't need more people on it. It's just if they can get the roster smaller, then that's great. But they shouldn't be replacing people who they expect to go. I think that's dumb. There's already enough people that can't get screen time on NXT. If you actually look at how big the NXT roster is, it's pretty huge. So yeah, I would just focus on the roster that they do have instead of adding more people. But I mean, whatever. Trick Williams and Carmelo Hayes then make their way to the ring. Nice wee entrance here for the champs. Hayes talks about how his stand and deliver win was like 18 months in the making and it was worth the wait. He says there's no question who is the best. It's about him. And Trick says this is the him error. Hayes says he took the title, it wasn't handed to him. And then basically Hayes says, look, you can't have a champion without a good challenger. You need a good opponent. You need a good competitor. Hayes puts over Bron Breakker, and he calls Bron Breakker out. He says he wants to tell him something. So Bron Breakker comes to the ring, gets a pop from the crowd. Bron Breakker says, look, guy, you were the better man, blah, blah, blah. When Tommaso Ciampa lost the belt to me, he had dignity and he gave me the belt. And that's why I handed the belt to you, because I wanted to be a good champion just like Tommaso Ciampa was. And Bron Breakker's basically being a nice guy, and he says that you're the man. And then Hayes and Bron Breakker share a handshake. You think it's all going well, but then suddenly Bron Breakker just completely takes Hayes' head off with a lariat. And then Trick tries to approach Bron, but he gets a slammed into there, high press slam into there, gorilla press slam, bringing him down bang onto the mat. Then Bron runs over to Hayes and absolutely demolishes him with a Goldberg-like spear. And then the boos get louder. Bron's getting booed now. Bron's fired up, and he just completely smashes both Trick and Carmelo Hayes, leaves them both laying in the middle of the ring while he looks at them. And the fans are chanting one more time. They want Bron Breakker to go and smash them again, but nah, he's seen enough. He's seen enough. He just leaves. And that's how NXT ends, with Bron Breakker, just looking in at the damage he's caused. Both Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams left laying in the ring. And now people are saying that this doesn't mean a heel turn because Bron Breakker should rightfully be pissed after what happened at Stand and Deliver with Trick Williams screwing him at the title. And I agree, that's true, but the reason why this is a heel turn is because Bron Breakker came out and he deceived these two. He came out and he spoke about how good NXT is. He spoke about how you have to do the honourable and right thing. So that's how you know it's a heel turn. If Bron Breakker just came out and attacked these two, that would have been justified based on what happened at the pay-per-view. But the fact he came out and spoke about having honour and the prestige of the belt and wanting to do the right thing and then doing this, that is a heel turn. So I think it'll be fun to see Bron Breakker as a heel. I mean, just look at the guy. He's fucking jacked. He should be, realistically, I think Bron Breakker should be a heel. He's a big fucking boy, and, it'll be interesting to see him run through the division. Now, whether that be the NXT division, the Raw division, or the SmackDown division, I guess we will see. Now, I don't know, again, turning Bron Breakker heel after what happened with Rick Steiner, could that have anything to do with it, or is that just a coincidence? We'll just have to wait and see, guys. But you know what, this NXT was alright. I think I rated Raw a 3 out of 10. I would probably say this NXT was similar. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10. I thought it was overall, it was a much better show than Raw overall, but it lacked the main event status of a Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar can come out and steal the show on Raw, and NXT just doesn't have that. So yeah, in terms of overall, I think NXT was better than Raw, but when you look at the big moments, the standout moments on Raw kind of blow NXT away. But yeah, overall, since WrestleMania, I wouldn't say I've been that impressed. I wasn't impressed at WrestleMania either. To be fair, I haven't been impressed with wrestling for a very, very long time. So that's it, guys. 3 out of 10. I'll catch you in the next one. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and I will see you later. But until then, until next time, peace.